Hello, this is going to be a video about the Unix utility awk. It is a pattern matching program for processing files with a simple field-orientated layout. So the field-orientated layout basically means you've got a field which can be some sort of data, maybe someone's age, and then you've got something that separates it from the next field, say a comma or a colon or something like that. And then it continues with the same thing separating the field across the entire row, and the next row has the same thing. So if it's age and name in the first row, it'll be age and name in the second row. Okay, so that's what we basically mean by the field orientated part. The pattern matching means that you're going to match part of the row to some sort of a pattern. Okay, it could be that the name is Bob, or it could be that the person's age is 5 or something like that. And then for every time we find a match, we process it, so we perform some sort of an action. So I hope that gives a good overview of what awk basically does, and we'll be seeing it all in action anyway. There are two ways of running awk. You can run it all from the command line, which is this way here, and the real guts of the program is in the script part. Okay, so that's where everything happens. That's where the pattern matching and the actions or the processing that subsequently occurs is specified. Okay, there are other options as well, which we'll talk about. And there's also this var equals value, which is useful as well. And then this files at the end is just basically the files that you want to process. Okay. This other way here, the only real difference is that now, rather than put the patterns and the actions on the command line, we're going to move them into a separate script. And this is useful if you're doing anything that's quite complicated. Awk is sort of a programming language, so you can do if statements, for loops, and all sorts of things. If you want to do that, the best thing to do is to use a script file, and we will have a look at that. But we're going to start with basically looking at this command line way of running the program. The first things we'll look at, we won't go into patterns straight away. We're going to look at the -f option, awk variables, and the var equals value option. Okay. Right, so to demonstrate this, I've basically created a directory and I've created a few files. So file 01, we can see the contents there, and you can see how that basically meets the field orientated. Was that the word we used? Field orientated layout. Okay, so the first one is just a number, first person, second person, third person, first name, last name, and then let's say that's age or something like that. Okay. And it's separated there by commas. You could also have file 02. Right, there we go. And there it's exactly the same file. I've just used colons rather than commas to separate the fields out. So let's say first of all I just want to use awk to say print the first field. But if I want to use the first file, then I need to tell awk using the -f option that my fields are separated by commas. So there you go. That's that one. Okay. Next thing I need to tell awk is what I want to do. Okay, we just have to put quotes, and actions always go in curly braces. So I'm going to print the first field, and this introduces here, we've introduced a couple of things. This is a very important option, okay, because as I've already said, it tells us how the fields are separated. This is an awk variable. That means the first field, so print the first field. There's no pattern here, so it's going to do it for every single row. Okay, it's not going to, when we do pattern matching, if it finds a pattern, say Bob could be a pattern, then it prints out just that row, or whatever you want to print out. And finally, clearly we want to do that to file 01, so there we go. Again, it prints out the first field. I could print out the second, okay, changing the awk variable. If you want to print out the whole lot, you can just use the 0. Okay, so there you see how basics of variables we've introduced, and the basics of the -f option. So the only other thing I said I was going to do at this point was the awk. If I do -f, comma, oops, capital F, needs to be capital F, comma, -v, so this option allows me to do the var equals value bit I was talking about. What I'm going to do is age equals person's age, oops, not just yet, colon, space, quotes, and I've specified a variable. Okay, so how could I use that? Well, I can do print age, comma, let's say $4, because that was what we said we'd call the age field. Okay, and then we can yeah, and then we just need to put that in a single quote there and a single quote there. We need to do file 01, and there we go. You get your person's age 12, 13, 13, 1, and you've got that done. Good. So it's done everything we said we were going to do in that first bit there. We've looked at the -f option, we've talked about awk variables, and we've used the var equals value, and we've shown how that works. Next thing we're going to look at is patterns, and there are lots of different types. You can have regular expressions, relational expressions. Okay, so we'll work through these in order. Probably the most common one is going to be a regular expression, and about the most simple, or about the simplest way you could use it is just to look up a particular string. So let's say I want to print the whole lot for every row that contains Bob, right? There we go, Bob. And it'll do just that. Okay, regular expressions need to have these backslashes around them, or forward slashes I should say. Okay, all the other matching that we're going to do, all the other pattern ideas we're going to look at, they don't need that. Okay, so let's make it a little more complicated. Let's say I want to match what starts with 1. Okay, so this is now going to match every single row that starts with 1. Okay, remember the caret means start with. You'll need to revise regular expressions. I know I revise them every now and again. Let's say I want to do 1 or 2, and it's done that again. Yeah, we got that. And you can have more than one. Okay, so let's say you always have this pattern action, and that repeats. Okay, if you want to do another one, you can do let's say starts with 3, 4, print $1. Okay. Oh, it didn't like some of that. Okay. And that's because I haven't put the final forward slash in. Okay. So it's going to do two different things now. It's going to print either the whole lot if we start with 1 or 2, and it's just going to print the first field if we start with 3 or 4. If I've got it right. Okay. And there you go. It does do that. Okay. So you can have more than one. You always have this action pattern. Okay, that always goes on like that, but you don't just need to have one pair. You can have as many pairs as you like. Okay, so we've spoken about regular expressions. The next one we're going to look at is relational expressions. Now, for those, you do not need the backslashes. Let's make this a little simpler again. Let's get rid of one of the pairs. You can just have, let's say, $4, so the fourth one is bigger than the first one. Okay, hit that, and this is as you'd expect, because you can see that the fourth one's bigger, fourth one's bigger than the first. It doesn't print out the last one. So if I turn it around, I should just get the last one. Okay, and yeah, there you go. That works as well. Okay, good. So that's relational expressions. There's then pattern matching. Okay. For that, -f, it's similar to what we've just done in a way. Let's say we want to have, what should we do? First, we'll do the fourth field. Now, one slightly awkward thing is you have to use tilde for equals, okay, and exclamation mark tilde for not equals. But let's have the first field is equal to, the fourth field, sorry, is equal to 13. So that should pick out, if we look back up here, it should pick out the middle 2 there, shouldn't it? Okay. And let's keep it as print $0, okay, file 01, and it prints out the last 2. So I was saying, you want to do not equal to, then you just change that to an exclamation mark, and you're going to get the first, rather than the middle 2, you're going to get the first and the last, because it's now do not equal to. Okay, so that's we've understood there the pattern matching part. Now the beginner end actually it's not doesn't really match anything in the file. It just gives you the option to say, well, I want to say something at the beginning, so I'm going to say, what do I just say, begin, okay, and I'll put in here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to print starting, okay, and then I can do, oops, mustn't forget to finish my action with, notice always actions start, end, curly braces, okay. Similarly, end then, print ending, okay. Hopefully that should work. There you go. So it just gives you the option to start and end with something. You can put whatever you want, and obviously this is a completely contrived example, but you can imagine that would be useful, I'm sure. Okay. Begin, end, and or matching. Okay, this is the last thing we're going to look at. So let's say we go back to that. Let's keep it equal to 13. Okay. You can make these things more complicated. You can have an and. Let's have an and with this. Okay. We'll do and. You can do like that. So that means this condition and another condition. Let's do a relational operator this time. We'll have $1 is less than 3. Okay. I think it should work. Let's see whether that works. Yeah, there we go. So you can see, yeah, so what's happening here is we're printing out if the fourth field is equal to 13 and the first field is less than 3, and that's just 1. So rather than getting the 2 13s that we had before, we just get this one because this is less than 3. Okay? Good, so that's that. Alright. You can, but an or is similar. Let's have a think what might happen if we do or now. If or less than 3. Well, we should actually get the first one as well. We should get 1, 2, and 3. Because it's one condition or the other. Okay? There you go. 1, 2, 3. Because for the first line, this condition's met. For the second line, well, this one's met. And for the third one, that one's met. So, well, actually for the second one, they're both met. Okay, and that's the way ors work. Right, good. So that's the main points there. And we've done all of those now, so we've covered all the ways patterns can work. Now, actions can be different to what we've done. You don't have to just print, okay? You can do other things. So let's say I want to... this is a little bit, again, it's a bit of a contrived example, but I'm going to do begin. I'm going to define x equal to 3, okay? Then I'm going to have if, let's have $4 is equal to 13, then I'm going to add 1 to x. Okay, and at the end I'm going to actually print x so I can see what's happened. So what should have happened is I should start with 3, I should find the 2 13s, add 2 on, and then when I print it out finally at the end I should get I should get 5, shouldn't I? Okay. There you go, so it does that. So that's what's happened there, and of course if I just remove this begin bit, or I put change begin bit to x equals 0, you'll get the 2, which is kind of more sensible, but I suppose you see more the first way I did it, okay, you see more of what the program can do, okay? So, yeah, that's how you can use actions in a different way other than just print. You can count the number of rows, for example, that meet a certain criterion, so that's quite useful. Okay, so actions that aren't printing, yeah, we had a look at that. So, an awk script file, well, it's very easy to make an awk script file, okay? I've already made one, but I'm going to remove it just so I can do it from scratch, okay? The simple one anyway, yeah. So I'm going to echo, I'm going to put this in quotes because it's got all sorts of bits and bobs in. I'm going to put this here into copy, oops, oh well, paste. into simp.awk, okay, and have a look at what's in simp.awk. Right, there you go. So, okay, so if I want to actually now, rather than, let's go back up to where I had it. I've lost it. I've gone past it. No, I haven't. Where is it? Okay, so here we were doing that effectively the same thing as I've just put into that file. Okay, maybe I don't want to do it from the line now. Maybe I want to just specify the file. So I use the -f option. Do simp.awk on the file, and there you go, 2. Okay, it does exactly as it did before. It just does it from a file. So that, that's the way to run with files. Okay, the ideas are exactly the same. There's nothing different happening there. Okay, you can see it's just the same thing, really. But within a file, you do have the option of making things a lot more complicated. So here's one I prepared earlier, if you like, cat awk. And yeah, okay, so here you can see that you can do a lot. We've mainly for our actions we've done things like printing, but you can do all sorts. You can do if statements, you can do for loops. Okay, so let's have a little look at what this one's doing. Well, it begins by printing age ID. I don't know why, because it doesn't actually relate to that at all, but there we go. Probably left it in from before. Then that's one pattern action pair. Then after that we have if the first field is 1 or 2. Okay, so it's working if you've got the first field is 1 or 2. Then if the value of the first field is greater than 1, alright, then we do this loop. Alright, so you can see that awk, in its own right is a programming language, and you can see how to get started with it here. This NF is actually something that awk understands, and there are a few of these. Okay, it means the number of fields. Okay, so it already understands what this is. You don't need to define it. So what this is doing, it's saying for I is equal to the number of fields, I is greater or equal to 1. I take 1 off I. So it's a loop that's working from the number of fields down to 1. Yeah, and then it prints off the field, so it'll be the last field, the second from last, and so on and so forth. So let's run this. Okay, if you go up, and rather than that awk now, I'm just going to go script and see that in action. Okay, script. And there you go. You see basically the Jones, which is the second one in, it's going backwards. You're going 13 Jones Fred 2. Okay, and it's if you think about why that it is the only one, because the pattern specifies you got to start with 1 or 2, and then the if says, well, if the first one's greater than 1, so the pattern picks out these two. The if statement here effectively knocks on the head the first one, okay, because you've got to be greater than 1. Okay, so I think that covers the most points about awk. Thank you for listening. Bye.